Shalom, y'all. John Shefsky here, local Southern California full-time residential realtor. And in this video, the one you're watching right now, we're going to talk about the NAR commission settlement, and we're going to separate fact from fiction. Imagine I'm holding fact here and fiction here. By the way, thanks for tuning in. My name is John Shefsky. I'm with Kaleo Real Estate. And if you want to know more about selling property in Joshua Tree or Los Angeles and just about anywhere in between, go ahead and all my contact information is below, by the way, but go ahead and text me. I'm putting the number right here. Does this work? Okay, right here. Text me and we'll chat, and then I'll move it down to the corner so it's out of the way.
Watch the video through to the end for pro tips that could save you a lot of trouble.
Fiction number 1. Buyers and sellers have been forced into paying inflated commissions, and now commissions are finally negotiable. Oh, finally, it's finally negotiable. It's been so hard. The commissions, oh God, it's been so hard. Well, now they're finally negotiable. Well, that's a fiction, buddy. Okay? No offense if you didn't know. I mean, there's so much to know in this world. Give me a break, right? Give you a break, give me a break, give everyone a break. No, this video is not sponsored by Twix. Here's the fact. Commissions have always been negotiable. In fact, at my brokerage, my broker has always encouraged me when I am sitting down during a listing presentation or just casually talking to a client or a friend or anybody that's just saying, hey, I want to sell my house. I've been encouraged since the beginning of real estate by my broker to say, hey, dude, just so you know, and yes, I call, even if the client is a 78-year-old lady, I still say, hey, dude, commissions are negotiable. Let's talk. When people run around and going, it's 6%, you guys are taking so much. 6% is a number that has been used as a general standard in communication, but it has been no way law. In fact, and this is quite embarrassing because I know a lot of agents that get 6% all the time. I rarely do 6%. Like if you smile at me nicely, you know, like an old lady blushes at me and I'm like, all right, you're getting the family deal, lady. So it's always been negotiable and it's going to continue to be negotiable. Fiction number 2. Home buyers will have to pay their buyer's agent compensation directly out of pocket. That's fiction. With the written buyer's representation agreement, that's hard to say, with the written buyer's representation agreement, a buyer client could authorize me to negotiate with the seller to pay that commission. So we put an offer in for a property. If I'm representing the buyer, I put an offer in for the property. And when I'm putting that offer in, I'm also negotiating with the agent representing that seller saying, hey, dog, what y'all gonna give me? And in all honesty, I don't like that. I think it's a conflict of interest. I think it's pathetic that NAR did this. I think it's pathetic that the tabloids or whatever you call it, the headlines, it's all tabloids now, unfortunately. There's no more Walter Cronkite's. It's all tabloids. I think it's unfortunate that they did this and they kind of framed it a certain way, because now what happens is agent works their butt off to get their client's offer accepted. They could lose the offer. There's 2 failure points, basically, right? What used to happen is I negotiate on behalf of my client and get their offer accepted. I already know that I'm getting paid for my hard work. I don't have to worry. And I just know, focus on getting this offer accepted. Collaborative negotiation, get this thing figured out for both the buyer and the seller. And the agents could just focus on that. Now there's 2 failure points. Now that negotiation could work. And then the seller could say, yeah, but we're not going to pay you anything. And I go, wait, what? Wait, what do you mean? Like that's how I earn my living, is I work my butt off negotiating for people. Now I don't get paid? And the seller could just be like, yeah, I don't pay you. I'll pick another offer that doesn't have that. We're entering into the danger zone. That's just my opinion, though. A lot of people are like, hell yeah, agents have been getting paid too much for too long. Now I can just sell my house. I'm like, well, see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. In my opinion, what's going to end up happening? The wealthy are going to continue to hire people to represent them because they see the value in that, right? Pimps don't need pennies. Middle class, as per usual, going to get screwed over. Middle class is going to go, oh yeah, like, well, then let's just save money. And it's like, so you're going to save maybe $10, $20, $30, $40,000 and miss out on maybe $50, $60, $70, $100,000. How does that work? I can break that down in another video. Nobody likes math, especially if it's me telling it. Maybe they do like me teaching math. Fiction number 3. NAR required that members charge sellers 6% commissions. I kind of went over this in the last one. NAR has never, I'll repeat, NAR has never set commission rates for its members. Never. Commissions are not fixed by law or trade associations. They're not. So let me just break this down super clear. Commissions are negotiable between clients and agents. That's it. They always have been. And so that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed at all. Next fiction. Fiction numero 4. The real estate industry is not ready for these changes. That's very dramatic. It is muy dramático. Fact. Change is constant in all business. People will adapt, and those that won't will get out of the business. Felt very Dwight, but felt right. Felt right to be Dwight. Change is always part of this stuff, and there's more changes coming. That's the funny thing about life, is the only thing that's constant is change. There's going to be stuff going on. There's going to be AI stuff. There's going to be AI real estate agents. There's going to be a lot of weird stuff that goes on, and there's going to be corporate takeovers, as there already have been with Purple Bricks and Zillow and all these big corporations that want to Walmart the whole world, where they want everyone to be an employee. That's going to continue to happen. So we're just going to have to continue to adapt. I mean, I don't know. That's pretty vague, but it's just like, well, what else am I going to say, dog? That's for real, right? What do you think about that? Tell me in the comments. Are you able to adapt? Like, what's your job? Tell me in the comments what your job is and how you're going to adapt to AI and corporate takeovers of industries. You just keep on trucking. Up next, fiction number 5. Sellers will not be allowed to offer compensation to a buyer's agent. See, traditionally in real estate, what's been going on is when I look up a property, it says in the MLS that there's compensation for the buyer's agent. And yes, it does say the percentage. And guess what? You might go, these greedy realtors. You can kind of tell if a transaction is going to be a nightmare when you see the percentage is 1% on something that's, $500,000, and you go, okay, something's weird that this agent hasn't negotiated with their client to pay out, because it's a lot of work, folks. And you don't keep, these numbers seem huge, but the individual agent is rarely keeping most or all of that, right? So you can kind of tell when you see a low percentage that's not in the general zone of a couple percent. Ooh, something's weird here. It's kind of like when you go on a date and you're like, oh, this is kind of odd. Like you ever go on a date with someone and like they're like super cheap about something and you're like, this isn't going to be like, life's too short. I don't. Ew. And it doesn't mean you're not going to go after that property if it's the right property for your client. But usually after you see that weird percentage, you give a call to the listing agent, and they're usually rude to you because they're unhappy, because they're not getting paid well, compensated well for their work, most likely too. It's very rare when you see a super low percentage of a commission for a buyer's agent that the listing agent is getting a great percentage, because the listing agent's job, the way the listing agent gets satisfies their client, feels good about their job, gets referrals from that client, is a good agent. Just in general, that listing agent wants to sell the property for their client. They want to come back to their client and say, Malish, I have a buyer for you. So what a good listing agent does, what I do when I'm talking to a seller, is I go, yeah, we want to bring the best buyer possible. Like everything else in the world, that ain't free, motherfucker. It costs a lot of money. Professionals get paid really well. So it's weird when that commission is super low. It's a red flag, as we say in the dating world. And I'm not dating, by the way. I'm married. I'm on a really long date. Till death do us part, bro. So yes, good listing agents are going to continue to coach their clients to pay a buyer's commission. And here's another reason why. If I'm sitting down with you and you're like, John, I want to sell my house. And I go, sweet. And you go, John, I just heard about the NAR settlement. I want to sell my house. I want to save some money. I don't want to pay a buyer's commission. What I'm going to say is, hey, it's all up to you. You're in the driver's seat. This is your decision. However, in Southern California, you want the biggest pool of buyers. Imagine a pool, literally a swimming pool. Imagine a pool with 3 buyers in it. Imagine a pool packed with 100 people in it. Like, visualize that. Which one do you think, just out of probability, I know you can come up with many scenarios. The internet, someone's going to be watching and going, you left yourself wide open. One of those buyers is paying, $600,000 more than the other one. But just say probability-wise, a pool with 100 people versus a pool with 3 people, who's going to give you, as the seller, the best opportunity to choose who you're going to sell your property to and get the most money or the best terms from? The bigger pool. So if you're a seller and you say, John, I don't want to offer buyer's compensation, I might say, okay, cool. And maybe it's someone that I actually have a buyer for you for, and that I can work out, right? I go, oh, dude, I actually have a client that wants to buy in this neighborhood. Cool. But if I don't, what do we do? Don't you want like the biggest group of buyers? Let's say you have $1 million property and you say, I don't want to pay the $20,000 buyer agent commission. What if you missed out on someone that was going to pay $150,000 more than the two people that were making an offer, or the three people in that pool? Does this make sense? You can't answer because this is the internet. It makes sense. I know it does. All right. So here's the fact to that fiction. The seller will be able to offer compensation to a buyer's agent. But the way that we find out now is not going to be through looking at it on the MLS. That's fine. Part of my protocol when I have a client that is, well, I guess I should say for both buyers and sellers, but really, let's just go through the buyer protocol. When I have a client that's a buyer, when they tell me they're interested in a property, I look it up online. Pretty much the first thing I do after I look it up online is reach out to that listing agent, the representative. If it's someone I know, I'm excited. Call up an old buddy, someone I already did a deal with, maybe. That's fun. Especially in Joshua Tree, like it's a small market, so it's fun. Hey, Cody, what's going on? Hey, Hargo, what are you up to, man? Hey, just want to know some stuff about so-and-so, 123 Main Street. So we're kind of doing the same thing there. I'm going to call and be like, hey, what's up, Cody? What's your seller offering the buyer before I get myself dragged into some sort of nightmare for free? Some sort of volunteer nightmare. Oh, man. I'm getting a text from an agent right now. Hi, folks. Welcome back to fiction number 6. Home buyers will have to pay their buyer's agent compensation directly out of pocket. Well, here's the facts. The way that the buyer's agent gets paid will be there'll be multiple options for that. So yes, they're proposing that right now. I totally don't like it. I think it's silly, but it is a proposal. So when I'm dealing with a 35-year-old artist, first-time home buyer that's barely able to afford a house in Southern California, it's going to be insane of me. This is just my personal opinion. I know my value. I know there's a ton of realtors out there that are like, you just need to know your value, bro. And they just pound a Monster Energy drink. Just know your value. I also know my humanity, and it's going to be ridiculous asking them. They don't have a property that they're selling, remember, that's profiting probably a lot of money because they've had it, and the appreciation in Southern California has been really good to them. So they're making a profit and enough money to pay both the buyer and the listing agent. They're not that person. They're the person that's like, hey, I've been working my ass off my whole life. I'm not rich. I don't have a fucking huge amount of money coming from my family to pay for a down payment. I just have enough to pay this. Do you think me as the buyer's agent need to go tell them, like, you also got to pay me to represent you? I don't like the way that feels. Maybe I'll change my tune at some point because, the hungrier you get, the more you're like, all right, I guess that's the way you got to do it. But I don't like the way that feels. I think it's gross. And I think again, this is where I think it's a typical shit in our culture where it's like, it's kind of an attack on the middle class. You're kind of making it difficult for middle class people to progress, and you're guising it as some sort of protection for them. Sounds like more bullshit from our culture that you just have to go, gulp, thank you for that one. What else is new, right? Just thankful to have a running water and electricity and, a healthy, friendly society. Am I right, folks? Amen. Amen. Ooh, fiction number 7's a good one. Home buyers will not want to use a buyer's agent anymore, especially if they have to pay the agent directly. Fact. Many home buyers will still use agents to help purchase a home, like representing them, because it's a huge financial agreement thing that you're getting into. A transaction, like, it gets, just like anything in our world, it gets oversimplified. But like, when it goes good, people use the example of how easy it is, because when it goes good, it is pretty easy when it goes good. That's novel, like most things. Your one cousin that bought a house on auction, didn't have any problems with it, and made a huge profit when he had the tailwind of a great economy or great housing market, all those things. That's the story that people will tell themselves, they'll tell others. But the reality is, as my broker James always says, we don't know what's out there. And I know that sounds scary, like we're like Navy SEALs or something, like very serious. But when you're getting into a real estate transaction, if you're a home buyer, you don't understand all the stuff that I know day to day as an agent. And that stuff can cost you crazy amounts of money, crazy amounts of legal trouble. And it's really simple stuff for me because I just know it. But it's almost like when you're a kid and you're around an adult that lies to you, and then another adult's like, what did they tell you? What were they indoctrinating you with? It's kind of like that. It's like, dude, there's a lot to know, and it seems super basic because it is. Dude, look, a lot of knuckle draggers make a ton of money in real estate. It's very basic. But you still, cutting a piece of steak is very basic. But if you hold your knife and your fork like this, you could still really screw it up. You could cut yourself. It could be really hard to cut the steak. You might not enjoy eating the steak. Is this a bad example? I think right now it's actually too soon to know how this pans out over the next 3-4 years and what becomes the new norms, because those are coming and no one knows those yet. Like everything else on the internet, people are going to claim this is exactly what's going to happen. And a broken clock is right twice a day. So if you listen to 10 different people, one of them is going to be right. And that's one who's going to remember later, survivor's bias. So who knows what it's going to be like. But as of now, yeah, like that's why I was saying earlier, I think the like wealthy people will be like, yeah, I'll just hire a buyer's agent. I realize how much money I could lose if I don't. But again, here we are, middle class. So they either won't know that they should hire a buyer's agent, or they won't be able to afford it. Good job, everyone. Good job, courts and NAR, all that you've done. Good work. So good. Listen, folks, I feel like I'm on Jimmy Kimmel Live doing the reading mean tweets right now, but people are still going to use buyer's agent. What's really going to happen is you're going to have these conflicts of interest. You're going to have agents losing deals for their clients because of the commission. Never was an issue before. Now it will be. Good job, everyone. Good job. I know everyone's just doing their best. We're all God's children. Everyone's still learning and, gosh darn it, they're doing their best out there. So, like I said, the water's running. I'm thankful for civilization. But dear Lord, you guys are hilarious. What do we have for us? Fiction number 8? Let's do it. Fiction number 8. Thanks for sticking around. Here's the final fact and fiction. And don't forget to stick around for the bonus right after. Here it is. Buyers can write up offers with buyer's agents without a written buyer representation agreement. Fact, in mid-July of this year, 2024, 2024, I think that's how you say it, right? It will be required that if you have a buyer's agent, you have to be in the agreement. And I think that's great because honestly, that cuts down on me feeling awkward. Can you fill this out too? I'm so sad having to ask people to fill stuff out all day and all night. Like you should see I'm getting thumb fatigue. I'm like, I'm tired of clicking on DocuSign. You just got to ask people to sign more stuff, read more stuff. Is it going to make the world a better place? Maybe. It also might just be more paperwork as per usual. So yeah. People just have to sign it. I'm glad that it's like, it'll be required because then I can just blame it on someone else. It's always nice to just be like, they're making me do this. Thank you guys for watching. Here's the bonus.
Bonus tip time.
This is such a basic bonus tip, but it gets missed so often. I feel like I have to, like a parent stands back from their kid and goes, okay, you can do it that way. I know what's going to happen, but you do it your way. This tip is if you're going to sell your home, start preparing early. Now I need to be specific about what words when I say early, what do I mean, right? It's early to one person might be 6 months, early to another person might be 3 days. As early as you can. If you think you might be selling your home next year, start decluttering today. You don't have to do all of it today. You don't have to give up your weekend right now because it'll get cluttered again before you sell it if it's 12 months out. Let's just start decluttering today. Put a little paper together and just make that list. One of the best things to do is I come to my client's house and I just like walk through and I give them a nice email after I walk through it. Sometimes I'll have my iPad because it feels really modern and techy. Sometimes I don't even have an iPad with me or a notepad. I just use my phone. I just do the detective Twin Peaks thing where you're like, all right, make sure to throw away the rusty Traeger grill in the backyard. But decluttering is one of the first things that you can do because half the time you don't even need to have your home staged, especially in competitive Southern California. So you can just declutter. You're going to feel better. You're going to have less stuff to package up. You actually can use that as an event as you're decluttering to go like, oh man, it's very Maria Kondo. It's a very nice thing to do. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to know more about buying or selling real estate in Southern California, I have got the most fantastic network of real estate agents that I work with that have great bedside manner. They're skilled, they're loyal to their clients, so you can trust them. We are able to work together and know like, hey, they're looking out for our best interest. I've got that network. And so if you want to meet any of these people, if you need help, the first thing to do is just text me. Here's my number again right here. And if you want to just check out what's my latest tour video? Irvine. I did a really interesting house in Irvine. Irvine's a weird city, let's be honest, right? But they got some cool houses. They're a little overpriced, totally. But you know what? Who's to say what's overpriced, right? Check out this video right here. Is it here? No, it's right here.